Advocates for the West is a nonprofit environmental law group that challenges conservation threats through aggressive litigation and sophisticated negotiation, protecting the American West beauty and natural places.
What we do is we use the tools we have available, which are working with federal agencies, state agencies, land managers to properly manage the land and the water resources.
What's important about Advocates for the West is that when the other conservation groups sort of run their course, when they need some muscle, when they need some legal backbone, Advocates for the West steps in and basically does some serious heavy lifting.
The Idaho Conservation League uses advocates for many of its cases. Some of our most important work has been in air quality and water quality issues. On the water quality front, we were faced with a situation where a gold mining company was operating upstream from the city of Boise on the Boise River, and their discharge was putting a tremendous amount of arsenic into the Boise River system. The federal agencies, the state agencies, they weren't inclined to do an enforcement action. It wasn't politically palatable in this day and age to go after a gold mining company. So we went to Advocates for the West, and we needed a crack legal team who were experts in the Clean Water Act.
It's an important issue here in the West. Water is gold here in the West, and it's what we feed our crops with. It's what we drink.
Water is going to be very scarce as we move into the next century, and the public lands provide important sources of clean water for us and for the wildlife. And I think an important part of our work is trying to make sure that these important scarce resources are managed to think about what's going to happen with climate change. And we're trying to use the law and science to protect the habitats and the refugia that the species need in the American West to transform into the new era of climate change. So that's a big part of what we're doing.
The thing about advocates is that it's pretty far-reaching. They're almost like a special operations team or something. They support all of the other organizations through their work, and I think of it as kind of just very tactical, very directed, and when they have results, which is often, they impact all the other groups at the same time.
Well, the case that we worked on with advocates a couple of years ago with several other Idaho groups, Idaho Conservation League, the Idaho Office of the Wilderness Society, and we all came together on a really interesting case, but from, I think, different perspectives. It was a case that involved Idaho Fish and Game wanting to land helicopters in the Frank Church Wilderness to dart and collar wolves. Our take in that as Winter Wildlands Alliance was simply to protect wilderness values. We didn't feel that landing a helicopter in the wilderness in the middle of winter was appropriate. Some of the other groups, it was the wolf issue that was more at center stage, but I think Advocates for the West was able to bring all of those different viewpoints and really meld them into an approach and a case that made a lot of sense. And certainly for us, that was an important stand to take, and we were happy to have someone who would take that stand with us in court.
Advocates for the West simply enforce the laws that are in place. They make sure that big corporations and big oil and grazing follow the laws that are already there.
The U.S. Supreme Court just affirmed our victories in the lower courts, blocking the Bush administration from rules that would have rolled back environmental protections on 160 million acres of the American West. And these Bush-era rules would have kept the public from being involved in management of the public lands, and they would have lowered the environmental thresholds that are required to be met.
It's tempting to get discouraged. But when you have, even when we passed wonderful laws like the Clean Water Act and the Clean Air Act from a long time ago, I don't think any of us realized how important it was going to be to continue to have to enforce those laws for years, for decades, and that's going to continue. And Advocates for the West is the group that comes forward and provides excellent legal service for all of the environmental groups in the West.
There's a lot of places we fight to protect. These are special places, wilderness areas, wild and scenic rivers, remote deserts and canyons, but also vast expanses of the sagebrush that stretches across the interior West. We're a nonprofit organization, and we understand the value of the donor dollars that we rely on. We staff cases lean and mean, and we get a lot of bang for the buck.
I work to protect the environment because I want to protect the health of my children. I want them to be able to drink clean water and breathe clean air. But I also work to protect the environment because I want them to enjoy the incredible outdoor opportunities that I had as a kid. Getting out and seeing wildlife, being in wild and remote places that haven't been clear-cut, that haven't been mined. That's a really important thing for me and my family, and that's something that I want to pass on. And by working with Advocates for the West, we're able to ensure that the air is clean, the water is clean, and that wild country is protected.
If we don't support organizations that protect the environment, that we'll lose them. And for me, that would be a very serious loss.